I'm pleased to be here and share with you our view from Red Hat when it comes to what is going to be the role of the Telco cloud platform in this journey, in this transformation that our telcos are addressing. And first of all, I'm very connected with the current debate. I want to share with you this sentence that it's our core belief and purpose in Red Hat, and we are seeing more and more that this is also adopted by different telcos, because at the end of the day, it's about collaboration. If I have to find a word to describe what we have to do in the telco world, is collaborate more amongst and between different companies to innovate and to move forward. This is what we have been doing in Red Hat over the last 30 years. We reached 30 years a couple of days ago, and there you go. We are here as the biggest open source company in the world. Okay, let's go straight to the debate and the question about this deal transformation. This is one of the surveys that we raised in the Red Hat 2023 Tech Outlook, and we asked around 1,700 leaders about this journey, the digital transformation, in which stage they are. And as you can see, the majority, around 66%, they believe that they are leading or accelerating on transforming. So they are in the middle of this transformation, okay? But what about telcos? What is the answer that they gave us? And this is slightly even better. It's 6 points higher. It's in all of them, in leading, accelerating, and transforming. So in a nutshell, telcos are already fully involved in this transformation. I can say that they started maybe in the IT workloads, and now they are shifting towards the network side of this transformation. So in my slides, I'm going to try to give you what we are seeing in this part, in the network side rather than in the IT, because we believe that the IT is a slightly more advanced, and most importantly, the main core in terms of the infrastructure from the telcos is at the network. So let me be focused on that. And let's start this journey. This journey didn't start a long time ago. The telco cloud, or building a telco cloud platform, started in 2012. So literally yesterday, when several telcos of the world, they decided to break the status quo at this stage, was one single vendor bringing the software, the hardware, the appliance all together in one single piece in this monolithic approach. They decided that they want to do something different, which is disaggregating the software from the hardware, and they embraced this network function virtualization around 2012. And the first outcome was around 2015, when we have the LTE Advanced, more or less, and it was the first introduction of this virtual EPC, which of course was based on virtual machines using OpenStack technology behind. The second step happened in 2018, more or less, when 5G non-standalone came up. And it was a little bit messy because at that time, it was not clear if we're going to use virtual machines, because we found that maybe virtual machines could be maybe not fit for purpose, we can say, and we have a mix of virtual machines and containers all together. So it was a little bit messy, and in some cases we have these network functions hosted in virtual machines, in containers, sometimes containers inside of virtual machines, or vice versa. So as I said, it was not super clear what's going to be the next step. But the next step happened, and it happened with the 5G standalone 2 years ago, more or less, and it was clear the new going forward is going to be about containers. It's going to be about the cloud native term that I will go back in 30 seconds about this cloud native term. And it's about something more interesting here, which is it's not just about deploying this infrastructure in a private cloud, as usual, in the traditional telco data center. It's also about having the possibility to expand this infrastructure, this technology, towards the public cloud, to the hyperscalers footprint, okay? And these are, let's say, one of the main reasons of moving towards containers, by the way. So, but let me go now about this cloud native term. When it comes to define this cloud native technology, there are many definitions, but I want to be focused on the main characteristics that you can try to find. The first one is about a service-based or microservices. Second one is standard APIs, containers, as I just mentioned, and DevOps or DevSecOps or whatever you're going to call it. But if we want to find something more tangible, I can say an end-to-end automation there, a zero-touch provisioning umbrella, end-to-end. And let me go through all of them very, very quickly. The first one, it's microservices and APIs, because in a nutshell, they have to go and they work very, very closely. As I said, we are moving from this monolithic approach of deploying applications to a group of microservices connected towards APIs to give us the flexibility to develop and deploy new network functions in a, let's say, more agile way, because you can change just one microservice here or another microservice here there without affecting the overall network functions. That's something that, again, in this digital transformation, we have seen that is a step forward, and that it will help a lot to the telcos. All right. The third point that I was mentioning is containers, and it is clear that Kubernetes is to the cloud what IP was to networking or Linux to the operating system. It's gonna provide the containers orchestration on top of the infrastructure abstraction, whatever gonna be this abstraction. Could be bare metal servers, virtual machines, public cloud, whatever. That is gonna help us to create these foundations of high level of abstractions to build on top of these applications, new functions and new services. So there are several different, let's say, Kubernetes distro, but what is clear is that Kubernetes is going to be the technology to orchestrate these containers. And why is that? As I mentioned, this is about software. This is about a software-centric approach. And we need to, let's say, making sure that we have the infrastructure, and this infrastructure has to be stable and cost-effective. And we have to be the focus on the applications, because we need these applications, they have to be dynamic. They have to be agile and flexible enough to be able to adapt to the business that you want to build. Okay, so these are the three characteristics. Let's go to the last one, to the fourth one, which is the end-to-end automation or zero-touch provisioning. And here it's very easy to automate a little bit here, a little bit there. Okay, but we need to create what we call this automation culture or umbrella end-to-end, where you're going to enable different roles and different teams in the telco organizations to work together. And you're going to be able to align the different roles in this organization to embrace automation end-to-end. Okay, we believe that this is the way that, as I said, the DevOps approach that you can use is going to be more a reality. And also I want to highlight this GitOps approach, which is very well known in the IT world. But now we are seeing a shift towards the network, and it's going to be used more and more, and it's quite interesting. And by the way, there's going to be a session, a fireside chat later on from Orange Business about this. So I really encourage you to listen, because the idea is managing the infrastructure as a software with a manifest GitHub, where you can deploy there all the YAML files of the infrastructure. And of course, you need to have your automation machine. You need to have the network orchestrator, the infrastructure orchestrator, this automation umbrella end-to-end, in order to make sure that the way that you're going to deploy and keep the lifecycle management of your infrastructure is going to be done in a different way compared with today. So please listen to that, and you will have a better understanding about what this GitOps approach means when it comes to the telco. All right, let's changing gears. There are plenty of clouds, I'm afraid, and every cloud, they have maybe their own meaning and their own reason. And we need to get used to that. We have to deploy the telco cloud infrastructure, application, and workloads in using leveraging this multi-cloud or multi-hybrid cloud approach. Okay, but the reason why this is happening, and that's what we are seeing at Red Hat, is edge computing. Edge computing is the key driver for this multi-cloud strategy. There's no one single cloud able to provide all the services, all the needs that we have. So that's the reason why telcos, they're going to need to rely on different cloud providers to provide and launch their services. At the end of the day, what you're going to have is, with this multi-cloud edge, is a distributed services. And the main goal is having any application in any footprint, in any location. That's the main idea behind that, all right? And I can understand that a hybrid cloud approach could be difficult. And it's true. It's at the end of the day, what you're doing is managing the infrastructure from others to deploy your application and services. So in a nutshell, it's not a walk in the park, and it takes some time to address it and to manage this hybrid cloud approach. But there are certain benefits that you need to bear in mind when you want to go forward for this approach. And the first one is very clear. You can have and you can keep you can access to this cloud technology when at the same time you keep your business, all right? So because you can still developing this new infrastructure, this new cloud, without stopping your existing one, okay? So you can mix and match. Why? Because you're going to have the ability to have portable workloads across the different clouds that you're going to have there, or even in on-premise. That's another key characteristic and big benefit of having this hybrid cloud. The third one is you're going to meet the compliance and data sovereignty needs, while at the same time, you're going to have the consistency experience across all the different type of clouds or on-premise. And again, this is very important at the end of the day, because as we were going to see later, it's about having a consistency operational model, no matter what is underneath. The fourth one, maybe is a little biased from Red Hat, but we truly believe that cloud native based on open source projects and upstream projects is fostering the innovation that helps telcos to compete and to bring new opportunities and new services, which at the end of the day is what we try to achieve here: increase the revenue with new services, attracting more customers, right? And the final one is a very basic one for me, but very obvious and important, which is you are going to be able to scale out an app rapidly without getting locked into one particular infrastructure provider. Okay, that's the 5 reasons that we are seeing in terms of the benefits of having this hybrid cloud. But from a business point of view, what could be the outcomes? And these answers that you're going to see here are coming from different surveys. The first one, it's 9% of the companies that they are embracing this hybrid cloud, they are saying that it's going to help them to achieve their business goals. The second one is about reducing the time to market, because you're going to be able to develop application in a faster way, also including new features. They talk about reducing around 40% of the time. And the third one, and it's also very important, is time to market. You're going to reduce, you're going to have certain time spent in the sales cycles thanks to the hybrid cloud. Again, this is coming from a survey you have at the bottom, the different sources, when they, let's say, highlighted the final business benefit of having a hybrid cloud. Okay, I'm going to pause here a little bit to summarize what I have presented. At the end of the day, when we talk about a telco cloud platform, what we are talking is one single pane of glass where telcos can deploy their application and workloads, having one single operational model seamlessly across the different infrastructure or clouds that they have underneath, having one single security policies implemented there, and so on. So it's a way to simplify and rely on the different type of infrastructure to build the telco strategy to, at the end of the day, increase business, which is the final goal of any company here. And I'm going to give you 2 examples of how in the network side, telcos are embracing this hybrid cloud and leveraging the Techco cloud platform. The first one, it's you're going to be able to deploy a 5G core in this hybrid deployment or environment. And I'm going to give you one example, and this is part of what we call the elastic scaling. Mediterranean countries during the summertime, they need to, due to the seasonality, they increase the traffic dramatically due to the people, the tourists visiting there. So from June to September, they need to cope with this extra traffic. The way that they can do that they deploy on premise the traffic, the 5G core infrastructure they need, let's say, for the 12 months. And they relied on the hyperscaler footprint to deploy this extra capacity that they just need for 3-4 months per year. So at the end of the day, it's having a 5G architecture that uses these hyperscaler resources rather than expanding the infrastructure, and it will help you to manage the cost in a much better way. You only deploy certain time what you need, and when you don't need it, you switch off that. So in a certain way, you're going to have these capital expenses under control. Another example could be what Verizon is doing with the Verizon Web Scale platform. And in this case, is for the Edge, is the 5G Edge platform. And also want to highlight it that this is for consumer, is for B2Z, which usually when we talk about edge computing, in the majority of the cases, we are focusing on enterprise, but this is for consumer. And what Verizon did, it has been there for more than 1 year, it's expanding their web scale platform out of their traditional data centers to be deployed in AWS Westland. To leverage what? To leverage being closer to the final customer, to deploy these specific use cases that they need lower latency and high throughput. Of course, they are also leveraging their own 5G connectivity in order to deploy different use cases for consumer that they can try and test if it works or not. Because at the end of the day, the onboarding process of every single of these applications is exactly the same. And there in the benefits, you have 3 points that I want to highlight with you. The first one is having a similar experience from deployment to production, because again, it's what you are testing in your, let's say, data center is something that you're going to deploy later on at the edge. It's about scalability and performance at the edge. Is expanding your telco infrastructure all the way to the edge computing, let's say, very close to the final customer. And it's about accelerating application deployment at the edge, which is, as I said, very important. We were discussing, or you were discussing later in the debate about how you can test and try new use cases and checking if very easily in agile way if it's working or not. And it works fantastic. If not, move on and let's go to the next one. This is the way that Verizon is testing new use cases and applications for consumer. We can also highlight it very quick other operators in the world, and what they're trying to do is exactly the same, is building this telco cloud infrastructure to monetize the B2B and B2C use cases as part of this digital transformation. This is what Airtel or Turkcell are doing, and at the end of the day, and again, it resonates a lot with the debate before, we have seen 3 pillars that telco needs when they want to embrace this digital transformation. The first one is the edge computing, being closer to the customer, to the end customer, to deploy new use cases. The network technology, the 5G, the fiber, the IoT connectivity, that is going to leverage the telco main business, and they're doing pretty well, which is being closer and connected to the customer. And the third one is this cloud native telco platform, where you can deploy and host all the different applications, the edge computing applications, the infrastructure, the 5G infrastructure, or the RAN, and so on, in one single platform layer. Okay, so I'm finishing. Sometimes I try to summarize all of this with this slide, which is don't define your telco cloud strategy, or don't let others define your strategy. You have to define your strategy, because at the end of the day, the debate is not about if I have to choose AWS or Azure or Google as the telco cloud. It's about what do you want to build, how are you going to build, and you need to find this flexibility, this risk mitigation, or the balance integration that you need to become and to build this platform. So in a very simplistic way, is with the pillars, you select your hyperscalers footprints to build your telco cloud. And on top of these, you're going to deploy all the different services for your customers. And at the end of the day, that's what you have to do. As I said, you define your telco cloud strategy. And Amy, that's all from my side. I think we are okay in terms of time. So I'm brave enough to take any question, if any.
I think you've slightly stunned the audience, so I have some questions. That was great. You covered a lot of ground. One of the things I'm interested in is, I think your slide said that 90% of people you surveyed said multi-cloud was helping them be successful. Is that right? I think that was the number.
Yes, exactly. That's one of the surveys there.
Yeah. So the thing I'm interested in with multi-cloud, I think there's quite a bit of confusion, because to me, the point of multi-cloud is that you pick the best cloud for a specific application, because clouds and their attributes are different. They're not all identical. So you pick the best one. But I think there's a lot of thinking that multi-cloud is actually about duplicating on different clouds in the interests of resilience. And
Yeah,
I think that then causes a huge amount of expense and time. And so just before, I liked the senior researcher at Gartner, his name's gone out of my head, but I liked what she compared it with. She said that would be like an airline having a whole fleet of aircraft from a different manufacturer on the ground, ready in case the first fleet had a software glitch.
Mm-hmm. To me, when it comes to have a multi-cloud, the multi-cloud has been there forever. So usually telcos, they have, I'm going to try to oversimplify here. You have different data centers because you have to provide these high availability and geo-redundancy. Okay, so a multi-cloud at itself, that's something that for telcos resonates a lot. Here, the question is moving from this only multi-cloud to the hybrid cloud, which is you need to combine your existing data centers, your private cloud, with the infrastructure coming from hyperscaler, from the public cloud. And how are you going to be able to interconnect and able to create these single pane of glass to, let's say, deploy seamlessly your application workloads, no matter where in the hybrid, in the public, sorry, or in the private. That's for me the main difference between what is the hybrid and the multi-cloud. But the multi-cloud has been there for the telco for many years, as I said.
Okay, so we've got a great question, which looks very simple. They're nearly always the worst, from Andreas, and he's asking who within a telco organization should define the cloud strategy. So kind of whose responsibility should it be?
It's a good question. What we have, and it depends company by company. I have seen many telcos that what they did is they have one dedicated team to build this telco cloud infrastructure. And what they're doing is at the same time interconnect and talk, of course, with the different, let's say, tenants of this infrastructure. Let's say people coming from the IT or people coming from the network side when they're going to need to deploy whatever the 5G core or the running in the future or the AMS and so on. So this is something that we have seen in many telcos, having one dedicated team fully responsible for providing the infrastructure to the rest of the organization. It is working. So far, it looks like that is working. Is the best model? Again, I think it's not just only about the organization. It's what we were talking before about this collaboration and culture inside of the company to make sure that all together, as even there are different teams, they are breaking any type of silos to work together. But so, this is what we are seeing in the majority of the telcos going.
Is this a real cross-functional team? Because I'd have thought, there's a danger of having a specialist team that kind of develops its own agenda and becomes a bit divorced from the rest of the organization.
It has to be cross-functional and cross-organization. Otherwise, they will have these silos about deciding things without taking into consideration what others' needs and requirements could be.
Okay, so I have a question here that could a corporation host its apps on your cloud from Benin in Africa?
That's
a very specific question.
I'm afraid I'm not familiar with what is happening there in Benin. At the end of the day, as I said, a cloud can be built by a telco company. They have their own private cloud. That's something that we have seen for years. See, if it's about that, the question is, and there are many. I'm talking before about Airtel India. Airtel India is offering private cloud to enterprise. So many telcos are doing that. They are building a telco cloud infrastructure to offer services to enterprise. So in a nutshell, without knowing much about the legislation there in Benin, I have to say that from a technology point of view, of course, it's possible. Then another topic is if you can have also hyperscalers deploy there. And we can see that this is very nationwide regulation in certain countries. Here in Europe, I can say that they can freely open footprint, but not in every country in the world. Hyperscalers are, let's say, allowed to open this infrastructure. But from a telco point of view, yes, totally feasible, totally possible, and we have seen many telcos doing that.
Okay, well, that brings us just about perfectly to our break. So, Ignacio, thank you very much. That was interesting. And it's nice to have clear thinking on some terms that are thrown about, possibly
Yes.
without clear thinking behind them always.
Yes. Thank you so much, Amy.
Well, thank you.